Jaden had always been an easy target for bullies, but nothing hurt more than being humiliated by the girl he secretly loved. 3 years later, he returned stronger, ready to turn the tables and deliver a shocking revenge she'd never forget. Jaden was a quiet 17-year-old boy who often felt invisible. He wasn't popular, he wasn't athletic, and he certainly wasn't the type of guy who turned heads in the hallway. At 220 pounds, his weight made him the target of cruel jokes and relentless teasing from his classmates. They called him names like Big J or The Tank, and snickered whenever he walked by. Jaden tried his best to ignore them, but the constant bullying left him feeling smaller and smaller inside. The bullying was unbearable, but there was one thing that made Jaden's school days a little brighter. Lena. She wasn't just the most beautiful girl at Westwood High. She was the girl everyone admired. With her flowing hair, radiant smile, and fashionable clothes, Lena was the kind of girl who seemed to belong in a movie. For Jaden, she wasn't just beautiful, she was perfect. He admired her from afar, memorizing the way she laughed, the way her hair bounced as she walked, and the way her voice seemed to light up the room. But Jaden knew someone like Lena would never notice someone like him. He was just Big J, the boy everyone laughed at. Yet deep down, he couldn't help but hope that maybe, just maybe, Lena might see something special in him one day. One day, something happened that Jaden never expected. It was lunchtime, and he was sitting alone in the cafeteria, staring at his untouched food, when Lena walked up to him. She had a bright, dazzling smile on her face as she said, "Hey, Jaden, I'm having a party this weekend. You should come." Jaden's heart skipped a beat. For a moment he couldn't speak. Lena was actually talking to him. Yeah, sure," he stammered, his cheeks turning red. Lena handed him an invitation and walked away, leaving Jaden stunned. For the rest of the day, Jaden couldn't stop thinking about the party. Was it possible that Lena actually liked him? Could this be his chance to finally be noticed? Jaden decided that he was going to do everything he could to make a good impression. First, he rented a sleek suit that made him feel like a movie star. Then, he borrowed a luxury car from a family friend, imagining how cool he would look pulling up to Lena's house. Finally, he spent all the money he had saved and even borrowed some from his friends to buy Lena expensive gifts, a shiny bracelet and a bottle of designer perfume. Jaden imagined the moment when Lena would open the gifts, smile at him and say, "Thank you." In his mind, this was the beginning of something special. When Saturday night came, Jaden was a bundle of nerves. As he pulled up to Lena's big, beautiful house in the luxury car, his hands trembled on the steering wheel. The driveway was packed with cars, and the house was alive with music, laughter, and bright lights. Jaden adjusted his tie, grabbed the gifts, and walked up to the door. Inside, the party was in full swing. Students were dancing, chatting, and enjoying themselves. Jaden felt a little out of place, but when he saw Lena across the room, his nerves started to fade. She waved him over with a big smile and said, "You made it." Jaden handed her the gifts, and Lena giggled as she opened them. "Wow, Jaden, these are amazing," she said, holding up the bracelet. For a moment, Jaden felt like he was walking on air. Lena liked his gifts. Maybe she liked him too. But then, Lena's expression changed. Her smile turned into a smirk, and she called out loudly, "Hey everyone, come here." A crowd quickly gathered around them, curious to see what was going on. Jaden stood there, confused, as Lena held up the bracelet and said, "It was all a bet. We wanted to see if I could get the biggest loser in school to come to my party." The room erupted into laughter. Jaden's face turned bright red as his stomach twisted in knots. He felt like the walls were closing in on him. Just when he thought it couldn't get worse, Lena's boyfriend, Connor, stepped forward, looked Jaden up and down, and said, Did you really think someone like her would ever go for someone like you?" The laughter grew louder, ringing in Jaden's ears. His vision blurred as tears filled his eyes. Without saying a word, he turned and ran out of the house, his heart breaking with every step. When Jaden got home, he locked himself in his room and collapsed onto his bed. He cried until his chest ached and his pillow was soaked with tears. The humiliation replayed in his mind like a cruel movie he couldn't turn off. But the worst part came the next day, when he picked up his phone and saw that videos of the party had been posted online. People he didn't even know were laughing at him, leaving cruel comments like, "What a loser," and "This is too funny." For weeks, Jaden didn't leave his room. He turned off his phone, ignored his friends, and skipped school. But as the months passed, Jaden decided that he couldn't live like this anymore. He started taking small steps to rebuild his life. 3 years later, Jaden was no longer the shy, overweight boy who had been humiliated by Lena. He had grown into a confident, fit young man who carried himself with pride. Over time, he had worked hard on his physical fitness, his mental health, and his self-esteem. With Mia's help, he learned to believe in himself again. Although Jaden had moved on in many ways, the memory of that party still lingered in the back of his mind. He hadn't forgotten what Lena did to him, and when the opportunity for revenge presented itself, he decided it was time to settle the score. Jaden discovered that Lena was a huge fan of Ethan Rivers, a rising music star who had gained fame over the past year. What Lena didn't know was that Ethan was actually Jaden's cousin. Using this connection, Jaden came up with a brilliant idea for revenge. Pretending to be Ethan, he created a fake social media account and started messaging Lena. The moment Lena saw the message, she was thrilled. She had spent months commenting on Ethan's posts and dreaming of meeting him, and now Ethan was talking to her. Over the next few weeks, Jaden, pretending to be Ethan, chatted with Lena regularly, making her believe that the famous singer was interested in her. When Ethan asked Lena to be his date to the prom, she couldn't say yes fast enough. Prom night finally arrived, and Lena went all out to prepare for what she thought would be the most glamorous night of her life. She rented a luxury car, bought an expensive designer gown, and even stole one of her mother's gold necklaces to fund her prom expenses. She was determined to be the center of attention and to make everyone at Westwood High jealous. On prom night, Lena arrived at the venue in style. She stepped out of the luxury car, her sparkling gown catching the light, and walked into the ballroom with her head held high. Whispers spread through the crowd as people admired her dress and speculated about her date. Jaden, still pretending to be Ethan, sent Lena a message saying, "I'm outside. Meet me by the entrance." Lena's heart raced as she excused herself from her friends and rushed to the main doors. She was ready to make her grand entrance with the famous Ethan Rivers by her side. When Lena stepped outside, she saw a figure standing in the shadows. He was wearing a long coat and a mask, which confused her. "Why are you dressed like that?" she asked. The figure replied in a low voice, "It's a surprise. I want to make a big reveal when we walk in together." Lena, believing it was Ethan, smiled and said, "Okay, let's do it." They walked into the ballroom together, and all eyes turned to them. The music stopped, and whispers spread through the crowd as people tried to figure out who Lena's mysterious date was. Feeling proud and excited, Lena stood in the center of the room and said loudly, "Everyone, meet my date." The figure slowly removed the mask, and the entire room gasped. It wasn't Ethan Rivers standing beside Lena. It was an old homeless man, wearing ragged clothes, with scruffy hair and a toothless grin. As Lena fled, she passed Jaden and Mia, who had just arrived. Jaden looked completely transformed in his sleek suit, with his confident posture and striking presence. Mia, in her elegant dress, looked radiant by his side, The crowd, still laughing at Lena's humiliation, now turned their attention to Jaden and Mia. Whispers of admiration spread through the room as people said, "Is that Jaden? He looks amazing." Lena, humiliated and alone, fled, leaving Jaden triumphant. She ran to the parking lot, tears streaming down her face. Jumping into her rented car, she sped off recklessly, her vision blurred by tears. In her panic, she didn't notice the tree in front of her until it was too late. The car slammed into the tree with a loud crash. Shaken, Lena stumbled out of the wrecked car and stared at the damage. The front of the car was completely destroyed, and she knew she couldn't afford the repairs. Her heart raced as she realized just how deep of a mess she was in. When Lena finally arrived home, she found the doors locked. Confused, she knocked, but no one answered. She checked her phone and found a message from her parents. The message read, "We know what you've done. The stolen necklace, the lies, everything. We're done, Lena. Go stay with your grandmother. We've had enough." Lena's heart sank. She dropped to her knees on the porch, overwhelmed with regret. In chasing after attention and fame, she had lost everything: the respect of her classmates, her reputation, and now even her family's trust. She realized too late that her actions had consequences, and now she was left with nothing but the wreckage of her choices. Meanwhile, back at the prom, Jaden and Mia were having the time of their lives. They danced under the glittering lights, laughed together, and enjoyed every moment. For Jaden, it wasn't just about revenge. It was about reclaiming his confidence and finding happiness with someone who truly believed in him. As the prom ended, Jaden and Mia walked out of the ballroom hand in hand. For Jaden, the humiliation he had suffered 3 years ago was no longer a burden. He had risen above it, and Lena's downfall wasn't just about revenge. It was a reminder of how far he had come. Under the moonlit sky, Jaden smiled, knowing that the boy he used to be was long gone. He was stronger now, and he had found something far more valuable than revenge: peace.